Welcome back. So we're talking about natural selection here, and we're talking about populations, and we're looking at some data here. We got some butterfly colors, okay? We're a biologist. We went out to the field. We've made some observations of populations here on this island or wherever, and we can see we have three colors of butterflies: red, orange, and green. And obviously you can see here this is the population number. We can see that orange is the average. There's a lot there, and we don't see a whole lot of red and greens, but there are some there, okay? Now, let's say some time goes by, because remember, evolution is a change in time, and we're looking at this population change. This is what it was before, and now look what's happening now. We've got this new population change you see here in the middle, and we see a spike in the orange being really favored. And what do you notice about the old versus the new data? We can see here that obviously the extreme ends, the red and the green, there's something selecting against them. Maybe there's a predator that moved in that can really favor the red or the green and see them in their environment. Maybe there's a disease that the red and the green can't fight against, but something in nature is causing the red and the green population of butterflies to die off and not be able to reproduce. That's why you see their numbers going away. And obviously something is causing the orange butterfly to be more fit and obviously be able to reproduce and pass on its genes. So the pressure is being put here on the extreme ends, okay? And the arrow is just showing you where nature is selecting against. So stabilizing selection is the selection is against the extreme ends, the red and the green, causing the average orange to be more fit. More fit, able to survive and reproduce. All right, directional selection is probably the easiest one to understand because obviously some form of a direction changes. Okay, so initially we see our population here. We see red, orange, and green as well. We see obviously green is not favored much at all. We can see here that red starts to greatly increase and orange is still there as part of the majority. Now, here's the start. Now let's see what happens over time, this evolution, this change. Now we see here with our old data here that we took from the beginning, and now we have some new data that we got. Maybe we came back to this island, 50 years ago, or maybe somebody else came back 100 years ago, whatever. And you can see now that there's been a shift, a directional shift from here to there, where now you can see that red is hardly even favored at all, and now green. So we see this shift in the peaks, okay? And we see that once again, red was favored a little bit. Now it's not favored hardly at all, where green wasn't favored much from the old, and now it's favored a little bit more. And you can see here how the humps of the data have directionally moved in one direction, okay? You can see how there's been a shift this direction. So this tells you that there was some selection pressure here for some reason. Could have been a predator, could have been a disease or something that caused this directional shift with the alleles, okay? So remember, if you die off, you can't reproduce and you can't pass on those traits to the generations, so your numbers will go down. So you will see a shift from one extreme, the red, to the other extreme end, green. And that's a directional selection, guys. Thanks. All right, still under the natural selection, but now we're looking at types of variation in our population. So we're looking at data, trying to call what we see in these graphs. So we see here, we're going to be called, it's disruptive or diversifying selection. I hate how they have two words for it. Some books say one thing and others says another thing. All right, so we see here out in our field observation for butterfly colors, once again, orange is the average and red and green are the extremes. We see very little of them because you can see the number of them. Obviously, this is the most. Now we have some change over time. Something occurred. Maybe there was a predator that moved in, maybe there was a disease that took over, but you can see here with our old data where the orange was being favored. It was the most in the population, so if we went out in the field, that's where we saw the most. But now this change, the new, we see that the new population is starting to favor the extreme ends, the red and the greens, and you can see now something is happening with the orange. There's some type of pressure being put on the orange. So think of an arrow coming down, like a predator eating away at these orange butterflies, causing them not be able to reproduce and not be able to pass on their genes to the next generation. That's why their numbers are going down. And obviously red and green, there's something going on that is causing them to be more fit in order to survive. So the pressure is coming down, putting pressure on the average. So the average is selected against, and the extremes are more fit to survive. All right? That's disruptive, diversifying selection.